Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. It is great to see everybody here. It's absolutely gorgeous outside, so let's knock this thing out and go enjoy some sunlight. Great to see so many guests here today. Happy to have everybody along. As we get started today, I'd like to ask past President Cindy Binkley to come to the podium to deliver a reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good afternoon, everyone. Abraham Lincoln was inaugurated as the 16th President of the United States on this date, March 4th, 1861. President Lincoln stood as a beacon of leadership during a very tumultuous period in American history, and his core values of honesty, integrity, and a commitment to service resonates beautifully with the principles upheld by Rotary. Much like Lincoln, Rotary emphasizes ethical conduct, a dedication to fostering goodwill. The Rotary motto, service above self, aligns seamlessly with Lincoln's philosophy as both prioritize the well-being of others over personal interest. Just as President Lincoln sought to unite a divided nation, Rotary strives for international understanding and peace. Both share the belief in the power of collaborative action to create a positive change, encompassing a spirit of selfless service that transcends time in a variety of circumstances. As we start our day, our week, and month, may the principle of service above self guide you in all your interactions as we seek to make a positive change in this world of ours. And now, if you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. As we begin our meeting today, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Hartman Bogan Financials Planning as this month's sponsor, and board member and Rotarian Donna Bogan. So Donna, wherever you are, thank you very much. Does anyone have any guests with them that they'd like to introduce? If so, please come to the floor mic and introduce your guests. That means guests go as well, Andy.
Hi, President Tangeman. I have a couple guests here today. I'm going to kind of announce them as Kate Fineske's fan club. As Kate's our speaker today, my wife, we're both proud Rotary members. With her today and with us are some of her associates from the National Museum of the Great Lakes. First off, I'd like to introduce Sarah Smith, who's the Director of Institutional Advancement at the museum. Ashley Strikert, the museum's new Marketing and Communications Manager. And then on my left, a lot of people probably know you already, Kathy Carroll, former president and CEO of the Toledo Symphony, and also consults with the museum. And then last but not least, we also have Andy Dale, who's the Chief Financial Officer at Hylant and an NMGL board member. And then this cannot go without mention, over in the pink is Kate's mother-in-law, my mom, her biggest fan, who came to watch and cheer on today. So thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Glad everybody could be here. Isn't everybody in the Kate fan club? I think, yeah.
Of course. President Travis, we have today my guest, the Dean of the College of Business and Leadership at Lourdes University, Dr. Yasser El-Hanawi.
Excellent. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. With me today is Schaefer Hireman, a student at Maumee Valley Country Day School, studying entrepreneurship, does some social media. He's going to shadow me today at work, so come say hi. Thanks.
Welcome. Hey, Sherry.
Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce mine and Hunt's guest today, Mark Michaelajczyk, who is a residential agent with the Danbury Company, and he and his beautiful wife, Eileen, are also volunteers at the Great Lakes Museum.
Welcome.
There he is. Robert. How are you doing, President? I'd like to introduce Steve Lankenau. He's past mayor of Napoleon, and he's a candidate for District 9.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, President Travis. I'd like to introduce Daniel Pedroza Jr., Supply Chain Manager at the Andersons and a board member of Sophia Quinteto Arts and Culture Center.
Awesome. Welcome. Glad you could be here.
Hi, President Travis and fellow Rotarians. I'd like to introduce Stephen Stubbins, who's here from Broadway, that Broadway. He and his wife, Libby, who is a Toledo native and alum from Mommy High School, also from Broadway, will be performing at the Mommy Indoor Theater on Saturday. Friday, March 8th. It's called Broadway in Love. And proceeds will benefit an organization that Rotary supports as well, Memory Lane Care Services.
That's fantastic. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
It's great to see so many guests out today. I'm happy everybody's along for the ride. Next, I'd like to ask Rotarian Phil Marissy to please come to the podium and introduce new member Matt Zaleski. You're not allowed to not do it. Oh, yeah, good call.
You really need those things? Fellow Rotarians, meet Matt Zaleski. Matt began a long tradition of waking his mother up in the middle of the night when he was born at 4:30 in the morning on March 18, 1960 at St. Vincent Hospital. He grew up the youngest child in a family with 2 brothers and a sister and went to St. Adelbert Grade School. It was former Toledo Rotarian Tom Winuski who convinced Matt to attend St. Francis de Sales High School because they needed a goalie. Among his other accomplishments, or lack thereof, he never got a demerit, not even once, and therefore never stayed after school. He went on to play junior hockey in the Detroit Great Lakes League and with the Cincinnati Junior Stingers in the National Junior Hockey League. He coached youth hockey for a while in Toledo and taught goaltending in the early 80s during the summer months at the Tri-State Hockey School in Cincinnati. And he also played briefly for the Nashville South Stars of the Atlantic Coast Hockey League, which is now the East Coast Hockey League. After the ice, Matt attended UT and transferred to BGSU, where he majored in broadcast journalism and minored in marketing, sports studies and management, and law enforcement. I never knew that. He left college to start a radio broadcasting career. He says that may not have been his smartest move, but it wasn't without its rewards. In that pursuit, he worked with Toledo radio and TV legends Bob Kelly and Dennis Staples, Lou Ebert, and others. Then a marketing career followed, which included the Toledo Gold Diggers, Raceway Park, Toledo Storm, Marco's Pizza, and Grand Air. That was the former air cargo operation. Gino's Pizza, I'm sorry. Grand Air days come and go, and then he gets back into broadcasting as the assignment editor at NBC 24 from 2002 to 2009. And that June, he left to start his career in marketing, which encompasses the company called Hubbub Marketing. His early clients included the Maritime Academy of Toledo and numerous Polish community events and organizations. Over the past 14 years, Hubbub Marketing worked on, and this is what he really specializes in, it worked on political campaigns for candidates from various parties and backgrounds, including the late Toledo Mayor D. Michael Collins. Other candidates of note include his wife, Sandy Drabick Collins, when she ran for what was left of his term. George Saranto is in here, Judge Linda Knepp, Sean Strong, Brady Hall, State Representative Josh Williams. There are many others here. As Tom Winuski would jokingly say, after getting someone elected, we have you to blame. I seem to remember having worked with Matt at some point in my early career. Not sure exactly when, but I know for certain that we worked on Cardi Finkbeiner's campaign together the last time he ran. So based on that and the list of candidates I rattled off, you can see that Matt is one who truly reaches across the aisle. In fact, Matt and I are not on the same wavelength as far as political ideologies go, but in true friendship and now in the tradition of, put that down, and now in the tradition of, in true Rotary tradition, we leave these disputes aside, we leave these differences aside, and Matt really knows how to work in the best interest of the matter at hand, whatever that may be, and for the greater good of the community. Matt already has the DNA of a fine Toledo Rotarian. He has, since 2009, he's been married to his childhood sweetheart, Betty. He has 3 grown children and 3 grand monsters, as he called them. Matt and Betty keep a 24-foot yacht called Sticky Buns at Lost Peninsula Marina. Apparently that's a weekend floating condo now because of the price of maritime fuel. When they're not busy working or babysitting the grand monsters, Betty and Matt enjoy traveling to the family cottage in the Upper Peninsula, and when they can find a good deal, they enjoy traveling to Honolulu to see friends. And a few times a year, Matt finds himself tagging along with Betty to Mary Kay seminars. I may not have mentioned Betty's a Mary Kay person. To quote legend, to keep this in the spirit of broadcast radio, as Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. Matt Zaleski, current new Rotarian.
I just want to thank Bob Reichert for sponsoring me, Phil. And Phil took 2 years to get me to do this. And one of the reasons it took Phil 2 years is I know the value of service. Started with my parents and someone I see here every now and then, Father Oshesky at St. Francis when I was a teen. And whether I was the Eucharistic minister at St. Vincent's or working on the board at Family House, I always wanted to get involved, and I hope that once I get acclimated that I can be, someone you can count on, and I look forward to meeting all of you and getting to know all of you, and thank you very much. Oh, and by the way, I got to give a plug out to St. Francis, because last week, Central got mentioned, St. Ursula got mentioned, St. John's got mentioned. My alma mater, the hockey team, onto the state semifinals in hockey this weekend, so good way to go, St. Francis. Thank you.
Welcome, Matt. Thanks, Phil. Welcome, Matt. Matt's blood type is O positive. He's a universal donor. Anyway. Sorry. Next up, I would like to ask Dr. Shandagora to please come to the podium and introduce new member Ryan Ambrosia.
So this time I picked the right side of the room to come on, so. Good afternoon. It is truly my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Ryan Ambrosia. Ryan has been the president owner of Ambrosia's Automotive for 10 years. He oversees a number of employees and has successfully garnered the respect and loyalty of so many of his clients for doing business with integrity and thoroughness. I and my family, my entire family, have witnessed and benefited from his great service and dedication firsthand. He is also my wonderful neighbor. He is a proud graduate of Whitmer. He has degrees from Davis College in computer networking, computer information technology, and business. He holds an Automotive Society of Excellence L1 rating as an advanced level technician. He understands service above self and gives of his time and resources to help those around him. And if you need someone, Ryan is there, and he's a great addition to our club. But what you really need to know about him is that he is first and foremost a family man. With his lovely wife, Jo Marie, they cherish their 3 children, 14-year-old Dylan, 12-year-old Demi, and 10-year-old Dominic. He enjoys weight training and playing video games with his children. Please welcome Mr. Ryan Ambrosia.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. Thank you so much, Dr. Gore. To say that I'm blessed to have her and our family, her and her family in our family's lives would be an understatement. An amazing human, amazing people. Just so blessed to have them as our neighbors and be able to call them friends. And they're fantastic. And I look forward to, getting to know more people and getting out of my shell. I'm kind of introverted, so Dr. Gore's helped me a lot with that. So thank you so much for the opportunity to join the group, and I look forward to, and thank you to Alec for helping sponsor me and get me in, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Shanda. Welcome, Ryan. Next up, I'd like to ask Rotarian Dan Woodcock. Danny, where are you, buddy? To come on up and give us an update on international services grants. You just want to have the entrance.
Yeah. All right, so we have, I believe last week, you all saw a video from their trip to Honduras and the projects we're hoping to do down there. So back in 2020, when I took over our International Services Committee from Mike Noble, we started to work on collecting some photographs, videos of projects we had sponsored. The first one, at the height of COVID, Nigeria had reached out to us through a friend of the club, Ann Lee Hussey, in help to get an infectious disease unit to their national hospital in Abuja. I believe that's the capital of Nigeria. So that money came together pretty quickly. They were able to build that facility and help tackle that crisis during a very detrimental time for that, especially in that area. We're just going to look at a couple of these, and then at the end you'll see year-by-year breakdown of what this International Services Committee has done, and then we're going to applaud that committee because I see a lot of them in the room today. Next, that same year we had gone down to Guatemala, the same trip that you guys just went to, but this was in Guatemala for the Uniendo Project Fair. Basically, all of the clubs in the Americas come together. The 2 zones in Central America host it, and it's usually near a very impoverished community, so you get to go and see firsthand, like they did, where that money goes and what these projects look like. So this one happened to be, much like yours, it was a garbage dump community. It's Zone 7, I believe, in Guatemala City. The largest employer, largest economic development tool in that area is the city dump. And in that zone specifically, their big need was after school hours. Children had nowhere to go. Families, mothers were still at work, so these children oftentimes wound up on the streets, getting involved with gangs and other violence or unsafe areas. So this family nurturing room that we helped fund in this whole community center helped alleviate that need. We specifically provided some funding for the furniture, for some of the books in that nurturing room, and it says nurturing, but it's really for the youngest children that were in there to have some time until mom got off work, have somewhere safe, and do a little bit of development, like reading. Next slide, please. In 2021 in Cameroon, they had, 3 schools, 18 classrooms. So we were, again, part of a global grant. And what happens with those is money from us, we gave $10,000. And then the district gives some money. And all the money the district gives gets matched by Rotary International. So our dollars stretch quite a long ways when our club can get involved. And then that encourages the district to give some of they're called district designated funds, the DDF money, into that project. Then Rotary International can come in and we can turn our dollars from 1 to 2 or 3. So this one in particular, hey man, no, I'm just kidding, thanks. So there were roof leaks in these schools. They needed new desks. Things were falling apart. Their library, they had a big rainstorm, and since the roof leaks, a lot of the books in the library just got destroyed. So we had seen before pictures, and this is what it looked like after the fact. All right, next slide. Thanks, man. This water well in South Sudan, you can see they put a nice Rotary Club of Toledo, Ohio. I think they actually spelled Ohio wrong when they were holding up the sign over there. But the NGO that does this builds 20 or 30 water wells every year in and around South Sudan and neighboring countries. So we got involved with them, and this one got done. I think they got the whole water well built after the 6 months we gave them those funds. So hopefully we get the chance to interact with them again. Just an international grant, not a global grant, so only money from us came, not the district or RI. Next one, please. And then here's just a breakdown. I'm not going to read all of these because I promised Travis I'd only have 5 minutes, and I think I'm near the end of that. But as you can see, in 2020 to 2021, we had a couple global grants on this list, and a lot of these global grants come from when they get to go down to these project fairs. Like we had gone to Costa Rica, we had gone to Guatemala, now they just went to Honduras. So that's where we get to meet a lot of our project partners. That's where my first one in Costa Rica, we went, and I was a new Rotarian, and these clubs from Denver, these clubs from Mesa came up to me and said, Toledo, thank you so much for getting involved with this water project that I had no idea we had been involved with, but it was a big global grant that ended up serving a couple thousand people. I tried to include as best I could how many people were included in here. A big one that I didn't mention is this Romanian pediatric cardiac program. So congenital heart disease is like the second or third leading cause of death in the area. So by us getting involved with the global grant and then the district and then Rotary International, we were able to help build that facility, and they had estimated 35 children in their first year, but they ended up getting 56 of them done. And that they're still active today. Next one, please. More. And finally there. Just last year. So again, International Services Committee, working really hard. I really appreciate everyone who's been involved. I appreciate our club's leadership for making sure that international projects are a focus for us, the district for allowing us to do a lot of this work, bringing those district designated funds into these projects, especially the global grants, and really maximizing our $1 and multiplying that. So if you could join me in a round of applause for our International Service Committee in the room. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Really quickly, the impact this club makes. We all see it here in Toledo. We know what we do here locally, but we don't always get to put eyes on the things we're doing internationally. And you see the importance that we as a club and as an organization make here at home and all over the world. And we are literally saving lives. So congratulations to people like you who care and want to see this world be better. That's what that's all about. So thank you to International, but to all of our committees for the work they do. Let's get this thing moving pretty quickly. I've got a couple presidential remarks. I like this one. I like to congratulate past President Sue Martin on celebrating 36 years as a member of the club, as well as past President George Eistetter celebrating 49 years as a member. So congratulations to both of them. I think I said earlier this year, all the clubs in the area are trying to help each other get their events noticed. So this weekend, the Sylvania Rotary Club is actually hosting their Dancing Through the Decades event. It's at the Franciscan Center. All are welcome. Event goes from 4 to 10. A bunch of different bands. And Toledo Rotarian Pat McCarty, the guy in the 419, will be the MC this weekend. So if you've got the time and want to go have a little bit of fun, go help out Sylvania Rotary. They're doing great things as well. One last thing. I was informed out front by District Governor-elect Tim Ryan some exciting news, and that is, since October, there has not been a single case of polio in the wild anywhere in the world. I'm going off the cuff. The last I looked, I believe total in the world last year were 24 cases anywhere in the world, and it was only in 2 countries. So far, we're at 0. Maybe this is the year. 12? 12 total? Oh, excellent. I'm bad at math. That's awesome. So, no, that's fantastic news. We're this close. There are still water samples in the world coming back with the virus, which means getting people immunized is still as important as it's always been, because it can always come flying back. So we are making a difference in the world there as well, and I just wanted to share some happy news on that front. So with that, I would like to ask Gary Murphy to come on up and introduce today's speaker, Kate Fineske. Murph?
Kate Fineske. Kind of rings a bell, doesn't it? Sounds nice. Kate lives in Sylvania with her family, her husband, Adam, who is the superintendent of Ottawa Hills Schools, and we met him earlier today and introduced all of her friends, and their 3 children. Elizabeth, who is a junior at UT, Andrew, who is a senior at Sylvania Northview, and Nicholas, who is in the 8th grade at Ottawa Hills. Kate and her family love to travel. She spent time living in London, and I know my daughter in her college, she had a term in London, and I think she was in 20 countries in 20 days. It's a great place to travel from, so I can see where that came from. Kate plays the piano. She played the upright string bass in the UT orchestra and the jazz band. She loves to read. She's a member of 3 book clubs. She is passionate about education, arts and culture, economic development. She received her undergraduate degree from UT and a Master of Business Administration with emphasis on nonprofit business from the University of Lords. Kate joined the museum in 2019, about the same time I was inducted onto the board, and became a key member of the organization's leadership immediately. She was wearing several hats, as can be pointed out by the fact that since January, she has hired 2 new people to help her out, and there will be 2 more additional new employees. So those 4 plus her, she was doing all that work previously. Kate was appointed executive director of the museum in January 1st, 2004. Remember all those hats? Well, she's got the people coming to help her. I am privileged to serve on the board of the National Museum of the Great Lakes, and I can tell you that not only is her staff happy to have her in that position, but that we haven't seen anything yet. I give you Kate Fineske.
See if I can do this. There we go. It feels like coming home. I am so excited to see all of the faces out there right now, and just to be able to share my vision. 2024, January of 2024 is when I started my new role as the executive director of the National Museum of the Great Lakes, and there are a lot of incredible things in store and ahead. So over the course of the next 25 minutes or so, what I plan to do is talk a little bit about our history, talk a little bit about where we are now, and talk a little bit about our future. And really, I want you, as fellow Toledoans, to feel proud about what we're bringing to this community. And that's my goal for this conversation today. So with that, I'll get started and talk a little bit about our vision of tomorrow. But let me start and begin with a map, because it should all start with a map, right? What you see right here is the Great Lakes, all 5 Great Lakes. What I want you to note is that the National Museum of the Great Lakes is Toledo's newest cultural entity. We didn't open our doors here until 2014, but we've actually been around for close to 80 years. And when we moved to Toledo, we came here, but we could have gone anywhere across the Great Lakes, US, Canada, Michigan, Detroit, New York. We looked at a lot of different places, and we landed here in Toledo. Why Toledo? Toledo has a deep-rooted history in Great Lakes. We began here as a community because of the Great Lakes, and we are still a big part of the Great Lakes story. And the National Museum of the Great Lakes hopes to make the Great Lakes an even bigger part, or an ongoing bigger part, of the Toledo story as well. But where did we start? We actually started in the basement of the Cleveland Public Library in the mid-40s. Enthusiasts that wanted to be able to share Great Lakes history. And we began publishing our quarterly Inland Seas Journal, an award-winning journal that to this day we still continue to publish. What happens when you're talking to a lot of history enthusiasts? Well, you meet a lot of people that collect a lot of history. Ultimately, we found ourselves surrounded by an awful lot of Great Lakes history, and we needed a place to showcase this history. So we decided to open up our first museum, which was located in Vermilion, Ohio. It was called the Wakefield Maritime Museum, and then became the Inland Seas Maritime Museum. And we had a visionary board. We still have a visionary board. We had a board that said, Vermilion's, it's a great place, it's a great seaside place, but we have this huge scope and we need to connect with more people. So I get asked this a lot, what makes the National Museum of the Great Lakes the National Museum of the Great Lakes? And it truly is our scope. We cover all 5 Great Lakes, US and Canadian history. Did you know there are about 100 maritime museums on the Great Lakes? There are hundreds of maritime museums across the nation and thousands of maritime museums across the world. Again, what makes us different, if you look at about 100 maritime museums on the Great Lakes, typically they're going to cover topics related to the town that they sit on, the lake that they sit on, or scope, say shipwrecks or the Sulaks. We cover all of that at our museum. We bring all of that here into Toledo, and we are so excited about what our future has to offer. So I call our first wave of expansion here into Toledo the last decade of our growth here in Toledo. The final part of that first wave is happening right now, and that is moving our entire collection to the Toledo area that is located a little bit all over the nation, primarily in Vermilion. We received an $18,000 grant from Ohio History Connection to bring that all here, and we're about halfway through the process before. Raise a hand so I get a good idea of a gauge of the audience. How many of you folks have been to the National Museum of the Great Lakes before? I love it. I love it. I love to see all those hands up. So you know we have 11,000 square feet of interior museum exhibit space. There is not a space that is empty in our interior museum. We also have a 617-foot lake freighter, the Colonel James M. Schoonmaker, with museum entities inside of that. We also have the Museum Tug Ohio on our grounds, an over 120-year-old tug vessel that is fully restored and tourable. But only about 10 to 15% of our collection is actually showcased right now. About 85 to 90% of our collection is in storage. And so we've been really working hard to bring this collection back to our Toledo environment, and we are very excited to be able to do that. But we have completely run out of space where we currently are right now. What happened in 2019, I was thrilled to be able to join the team at the National Museum of the Great Lakes. And one of the first things that my staff, or the staff that I work with, my colleagues, said to me was, you know, we have no more room, but we need people to come back to the museum. We want people to be excited. We need to offer new content. Hey, Kate, let's do an online exhibit. So remember, I joined the team in August of 2019. We go through the holidays. March 1st, we were launching with the Port of Toledo, Now and Then, virtual exhibit. March 1st, 2020. So I share that to start. There are a lot of ways that we can expand our mission right now, and we've been doing that externally. What you see up here are all the exhibit partnerships that have taken place since 2019. From being connected with the Toledo Lucas County Public Library, to current exhibits that are up at the Toledo Express Airport right now, to an exhibit that just went down at the Ohio State House in Columbus, to exhibits that are on board vessels cruising the Great Lakes. We have explored all of our options to make sure that we're bringing Great Lakes history everywhere, and now it's our time to sit against the second wave. And so with that, I'm going to move forward and show you, introduce you via video here real quick of our second wave of growth.
relocating to Toledo was both, I think, in some ways the easiest decision we've made and the hardest decision we've made. Hard because we were leaving our home in Vermillion that had been our home for almost 60 years. And you don't do that lightly. Once we made that decision to relocate out of Vermillion, was one of the easiest decisions we made because Toledo offered so much as a potential home for our museum. The decision to relocate our facilities to Toledo was predicated on having access to the Willis B. Boyer to rechristen it and repaint it and restore it as the Colonel James M. Schoonmaker and move that to the museum, so that people could have a seamless experience from going through the museum and seeing all the history to being able to experience that history firsthand on the Schoonmaker, which made our opening in 2014 possible. We knew right from the beginning that every square foot of space that we could possibly use in the museum was going to be used for exhibit purposes or the museum store. And right now, if we want to attract traveling exhibits, we need dedicated space.
One of the things that makes the expansion so important is our ability to tell the stories that we don't currently have the space to tell in the main museum.
There's so many stories we have that we aren't able to tell because of just our limitations today. And this second wave will allow us to continue to build upon all those great stories.
The beginning of this second wave was really led by the donation of the St. Mary's Challenger Pilot House. This is now that first piece, and everything is getting built around it.
The St. Mary's Pilot House is a really amazing artifact. It's the pilot house of a ship that's plied the waters of the Great Lakes for over 100 years. A ship that was built before the Titanic. We were able to get this amazing artifact and bring it to Toledo. And we are now going to expand around that pilot house and expand the building and the spaces to integrate it. It's the true anchor of the second wave expansion.
Taking a project like this from abstract to reality, we do have some experience with, because we created the National Museum of the Great Lakes. When you take a project from the abstract to the real, it's an exciting thing to experience, but it's also kind of scary.
You think you know what you're doing. You have this idea. Granted, it's just a concept, and then it starts to get drafted out on a plan, and you look at the floor plan and you're like, okay, and I know what this is, and you think about how the exhibits are going to go in there, and then the architects come through with this 3D rendering, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, this is really happening. This is really it. This is what we've been looking for, and I can feel it now. I know what it is.
So how proud am I to be able to lead this second wave? And this video was created 2 years ago. We are going to be breaking ground on the second wave in April of this year. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of this and what's going to happen with this expansion and look at a vision of future. And that's where I want to lead you with, is how the National Museum of the Great Lakes is going to really create a wonderful vision, not just for our museum, but for the entire community. So you just heard a bunch of different constituents talk a little bit about what's going to be happening. We're going to add approximately 5,000 square feet to the National Museum of the Great Lakes to produce additional permanent exhibit space that will allow people to have transition into a pilot house and have a pilot house experience year-round. We're in Toledo, folks. Our museum vessels, they close down in the wintertime, and we want people to be able to experience that whenever they come down to visit the museum. We're also going to create dedicated space for temporary exhibits. This means that we can have Smithsonian quality exhibits here at our museum and have multiple exhibits happening time after time again. 2 to 5 big, large-scale exhibits every year. And then what I'm most excited about is dedicated space for Great Lakes community education. There's a lot of work to be done in that arena, and we are so excited to be able to have that particular space. Our goal is to become the place where Great Lakes conversations happen. And before I take you any further, I want to build a little bit more pride and to give you a little bit of background knowledge real quickly. We've got a $1.2 million operating budget. We do not receive annual federal, state, or local funds to support our museum whatsoever. About half of our revenue is derived from donations. The other half of that revenue is derived from earned revenue. I say that there's a cost to come to the museum, but there's a lot of work that we're doing to connect directly to the community. We are very community-minded, and we want to make sure that everybody is able to have a Great Lakes experience and connect to a Great Lakes experience. In 2022, we had 3 open full days to the public. In fact, Martin Luther King Day is typically our biggest 3-day weekend, free and open to the public. In 2022, we had over 2,500 visitors join us in those 3 days. We also bring a ton of folks to volunteer for the museum. We have a program that we launched 2 years ago called Museums for All, which allows people that are receiving SNAP benefits to use their EBT cards to access the museum for free, and also a portion of its programming for free. There's a lot of work happening to make sure that we are connecting a community to their maritime roots. And what has helped to make that happen? Well, of course, our beautiful Glass City Metro Parks. And I real quickly want to tell you how much the opening of Phase 2 of the Glass City Metro Parks has really made to us. Truly, in 2023, we went from our highest visitation was just over 21,000 members in 2022. In 2023, we surpassed that. Our summer, over 46% increase in visitation. Over 30,000 visitors last year visited the National Museum of the Great Lakes, and the Metro Parks Phase 2 didn't even open until June. We know we have a lot to grow on, but what I really want to speak of is the perfect pair that the National Museum of the Great Lakes and the Glass City Metro Parks and downtown Toledo has together. Because the Glass City Metro Parks are bringing Lucas County taxpayers downtown to visit their newest state-of-the-art park. But the National Museum of the Great Lakes, we're bringing people from all over the country to the museum. And and that works together hand in hand, because what's happening is the Metro Parks are bringing people into our community down. All of you, it was lovely to see all of your hands raised, but we have a lot of work to do here in this community to make sure that people know about the National Museum of the Great Lakes. They're coming down now to look at this Metro Park, and they're looking and seeing that you can't miss the big boat, right? It's a big orange boat. They're going, what the heck is that big boat right there? And then we're bringing people into the community, and they're looking right out from our museum, and they're looking at this beautiful ice rink, the art that's in there, and they're going, what is that over there? And we truly do make the perfect pair. Real quickly, let me go back to our national reach, because I want to thank our friends here at Destination Toledo who gave us what we already knew was happening. The amount of people that we are connecting and bringing here in Toledo. About a year ago or so, they did cell phone heat map tracking data, a little freaky, about kind of finding where visitors were at and how long they were staying. 70% of the visitors that spend at least 1 hour on our museum grounds are spending at least one night in a hotel. We have 2,500 to 2,700 members, over 60% of those members, and we already know over 60% of the visitors are located outside of Lucas County. We're bringing in over $500,000 annually of revenue derived from outside of Lucas County. And about a third of our board members are located outside of Toledo. We're the National Museum of the Great Lakes, and we are proud of that national reach and what it brings to us. And as we continue to move forward, where we're at right now, we have a high level of economic impact, but there's only going to be growth in that, especially as we move on to develop our expansion, our second wave expansion coming in. So what I do want to let you guys know is, as I mentioned, we are breaking ground, so we are moving full steam ahead. And a couple of numbers that I'm really excited to share with you. So we have to raise about $5.5 million for this project. We're now over $4.4 million raised, and over 76% of those resources are from sources outside of Lucas County. We are bringing people to Toledo, we are bringing resources to Toledo, and on top of that, we've raised over $500,000, $600,000 to support the educational things that are going to be happening in the expansion that are happening afterwards. So we are moving full force ahead and so excited about our vision and about the work that we are doing. So what I want to end on is my vision. And what you're seeing right here behind this is actually a scan of a drawing that our vice chairman, Paul Lamar, did of his vision over 15 years ago of what he hoped the National Museum of the Great Lakes would become. Now we are growing into that vision, and we are so excited about what is going to happen. We are bringing people from all over the community already. And I want to end on this map to tell you that vision. So about 6 months ago, as this major expansion of visitation was coming, and we're realizing we've got to do some shifting around here. You heard we've got some new staff. I took over this January. My board chairman, Mark Barker, the president of Interlake Steamship Companies, and Chris Gilchrist, who you heard, who still works full-time for us as our emeritus director, said, Kate, you're going to take over this ship. What are we going to do to prepare you? And they asked me to go have some key conversations and to talk with different folks. One of those conversations really finally led me to this idea. And that is the idea that Toledo should become the place where all Great Lakes conversations is happening. And that's our vision as we move forward into doing this. I was given the opportunity to go to Cleveland, Ohio in October to the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Governors and Premiers Conference that happened there. One of the premiers said, and this is what finalized this idea, that if the Great Lakes were a country, it would have the third largest economy of the world. From economic conversations, to history conversations, to water quality and environmental conversations, to recreational conversations. There is no place out there where people think of that they need to come to have those conversations, but they are itching to have that place. Let's make the National Museum of the Great Lakes and Toledo the place where all Great Lakes conversations happen. So that's my presentation. I welcome any questions that anybody might have. I have about 3 minutes left in the meeting minute. I tried to use that fairly effectively. Is there any questions that I can take as I wrap up? You can go, there's a microphone right in the center area. Thanks, Matt.
Just quick. A couple months ago, we saw a lot of western wind, blew a lot of water to the eastern. All of a sudden, we're seeing a whole bunch of shipwrecks that we never knew existed. What's happening with the shipwreck portion of the National Museum of the Great Lakes as that regards into that?
Yeah, absolutely. You saw Carrie Soden talking on the video that I shared with her. She has been with the museum for over 20 years, and she is our director of archaeology and research. She actually does underwater archaeology and does a lot of the work connected with that. We are deeply rooted into both shipwreck history, underwater archaeology, and training folks on how to interact with and map shipwreck research. So there's a lot of work that we're contributing to. In fact, right now, currently, we have the Taking Flight, a temporary micro exhibit highlighting the Tuskegee Airmen, and the aircraft that was discovered more recently in the bottom of Lake Huron. Our archaeologist Carrie Soden is deeply connected to that particular project, and you can learn more about that by visiting the museum. Okay, well, I just want to thank you for allowing me the time to present, and I hope I've created great advocates. Help me make Toledo the place for Great Lakes conversations happen.
Thank you, Kate. That was amazing. I'm a history nerd, so that got my itch going there. So, as you know, we'd like to say thank you by presenting you with past Historical Tales of Toledo by past President Clint Mock. And we'll be making a donation in your name to the Polio Plus campaign. So thank you for being here. Thank you for saving us. That was done with 2 days' notice, everybody. So that is impressive. So thank you. Okay. Next week, please join us here on March 11th when we are joined by Kyle Sword of NSG Pilkington, who will be telling us all about the glass innovation here in Toledo. As a reminder, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we will be meeting at Sip Coffee for a coffee connection. I'm sure a lot of people will be there before 9, so feel free to be early if you'd like. There's one meeting this afternoon, and that is a past president's meeting. We'll be meeting in Summit A. Reflecting back on Danny's presentation and going along with the theme of Rotary of creating hope in the world, you see the impact this club makes, all the clubs in the world. Go out this week, create hope, create impact in our community and our world. Thanks for being here. We'll see you all next week. We're adjourned.